Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching or listening to this, and welcome to Link Up Leaders, your direct link to leaders in supply chain and e-commerce. My name is Lisa Kinsky. I'm your producer and co-host, and joined as always by Francois Jeffrey. Francois, good afternoon. How are you? I keep forgetting.
Good afternoon.
I've
Yeah, full. Geez, very full. I feel like
yeah,
sometimes
I'm stuck.
the team, and for those of you that don't know, we have a very large in the sense that there's always a lot of food.
Yeah.
Team lunch every Friday, or office lunch,
Mhm.
and every office that we have, the warehouse is also up in like commerce. They have lunches. Um, and I feel like one, it's over ordered every week. There's like enough for probably two times the size of this office, but
Sometimes.
but I have a theory, and it's a working theory. We'll
Okay.
see, but it's a working theory that they're hiring to manifest having to feed that many people in the office.
Okay. I don't know that that's the case. I I think that we kind of began because the order size used to be more accurate when we were at the old office and
Yeah,
had the smaller warehouse. But when we first got here, there was consistently not enough food and we had to like double order because we never
that's true.
knew exactly how many boys would be in the warehouse. And so some days they were like, I don't know, four guys back there. I don't know what goes on. But then sometimes it feels like there's 25 guys back there. And then they come in and it's like, Jesus, we don't have enough food. So we started just ordering a lot more food. But now people can like take some stuff home, or like when Jimmy and his team come in on the weekends, they have something to eat off of a little bit of leftovers. So like I'm like still very pro a little too much as opposed to not enough.
Yeah, 100%. Well, they
Yeah.
also, I know they eat it like later in the evenings and afternoons when I mean,
Yeah.
it's just been I was talking to Jimmy, and Jimmy's our warehouse manager,
Mhm.
yesterday about this, and it's just the order sizes are continuously getting larger, not like for cross docking and going to FBA, and we also service a big B2B side here on
Mhm.
at this particular warehouse. But also it's just like the containers. So for example, shifting back to like the ports, and just to sidetrack for a quick minute, like when proposal for the ports being open 24/7 in LA, when that was proposed by the current administration, it seemed absolutely silly to me,
Mhm.
because what warehouses are going to be receiving it after 7, 8 p.m. unless there are 24-hour warehouses, which there are a few, but there aren't many. So
Mhm.
it's like, sure, that solves maybe a processing problem, but then it's like, where are those containers going to go? And then when I was talking to Jimmy yesterday, this sort of ties into that story of, well, we have to receive trucks later in the day, and we have to be able to ship out things later in the day because, first of all, there aren't enough truck drivers during the day to pick up. So
Mhm.
when they're going along their routes, for example, if you have a LTL or a less than truckload, usually you're along some driver's route, maybe moving from Florida all the way up to, let's say, Virginia, and they're picking up smaller quantities along the way. And that's how they sort of form their truckload. It's like, well, as I'm delivering
Got
up
it.
the road, I want to have that closer to the back of the truck so I don't have to do that much work. So, I mean, they're working tirelessly, these guys,
Mhm.
to make sure that these things are in and out as quickly as possible. I imagine every 3PL is probably struggling with that nowadays.
Yeah, probably. And sweet little Jimbo Slice, he really is doing
I call him
everything all the time.
Superman. I don't know
Yeah,
if
I
you
heard that the
know.
other day. I was like, that's Jimbo. What are you talking about?
No, that's
Um,
Superman. Yeah, he does it all. It's amazing, right? I mean, just
yeah,
watching like the operations. I know you mentioned like you don't know much of what goes on back there, but
I
I
don't.
remember scaling it back from like the 28,000 square foot warehouse where we uh didn't
That
fully understand.
That was wild to see,
Yeah.
like, how full that warehouse was, and then I was like, "Oh, we're moving, like, how big is the new space?" You're like 10
10 times
times
the
the
size.
size.
It
I was like,
literally is 10 times the size.
it literally is, yeah, and I have no concept of what that looks like. All I could do is count by, like, how many bays we had, essentially. I was like,
Yeah.
"There's, like, 6 bays, there's gonna be, like, how many of them?" I was like, "Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
it's
over
so big."
30 bays.
It is
But
so
yeah, I
big.
mean, going from that where we're learning the operations, picking, packing. I mean, we had our CEO, we had our COO back there some days also
Mhm.
like putting labels on things for FNSKUs, for just like trying to fulfill our clients' orders, which I just imagine, again, it's a lot of 3PLs that are just either coming out of the woodworks or they were emerging. That's sort of how they started. They
Mhm.
needed a starting point to where they could, hey, we could build these operations and scale them up and service something as large as the e-commerce industry, which is
Right.
just continuously growing nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, let's go on ahead and bring our guest on so we can kind of get closer to the topic because
Yes.
there's no good segue in that other than just ecom. And you
Well,
mentioned
growth,
Florida.
growth.
Growth, exactly. So today we have with us Keith O'Brien from Page.One. Keith, hello. How are you? Calling in from sunny Florida. I'm very jealous.
Lucky you. Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm great. Thank you. Great to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we saw you at the Prosper show.
Yes.
Did you also go to, it would be a quick turnaround time if you did. Did you also head back out there for Shop Talk?
No, we did not. We did not.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Had
met
to
you at
come
the
back and get some pickleball.
pickleball. We were talking about that a little bit before this. That's why we were a little late. The Fortunate party,
Right.
actually. How did how did you enjoy Prosper? Before we dive into, all of your background, what were some of your key takeaways? It seems like the show that never quite ends. We just keep talking about it with every guest that we have.
Yeah, well, it's unique, I mean, Prosper was really the first, Amazon focused show in the industry. I remember in my previous company, we sponsored the very first one. It was in Salt Lake. It was prior to moving it intelligently to Vegas. It was in Salt Lake. It was in like January or February in Utah. Like I had to go buy a jacket just to walk from the hotel to
Yeah,
the
that
venue.
sounds awful.
Yeah, it was crazy. But it's always had that kind of unique flair. I remember the thing that hit me. I was riding down the elevator to go to the very first day, and happened to get in an elevator with a couple of attendees, and they're like, "Hi, my name is John. I sell supplements." And I'm like, "Oh, that's different for an Amazon conference, right?" Like, usually what you sell is like on the dark web and
Yeah.
nobody can find it. So it was really interesting. And that first one was primarily, established e-com businesses or established businesses that were moving to e-com, 7 figures plus. But just like, we've been doing this 15 years, someone wants to come knock us off, come do it. Right. So it was really interesting. And it's always been a great event. This one was unique. I mean, it was the expo hall was massive. It was probably 3 times the size of last year, which allowed a number of vendors to like hang stuff from the rafters.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Right?
It took me a while to like even look up just because there was
Yeah.
so much
I
going
mean,
on.
next year we're gonna have people zip lining into the booths, and
I
It's the
believe it.
only
You're gonna
Oh,
see
yeah.
Tim Jordan flying in on a zip line
Tim's a
with a
good
cape
one.
or something.
I was gonna say, Rob Stanley with Gatita in the Money Man suit coming
Yeah.
in on a zip line. That'd be another solid one.
we should not let him watch this because he doesn't need any ideas like that. He'll do them all,
He'll do
right?
'em.
He'll do them all. Yeah. So it was good. I thought that Expo area was great. I didn't get to as many workshops as I wanted to. But the event's always really solid. People are great. Connections are amazing, and it's always a great event. And I think what you mentioned, the party after, right? That that's new as of last year, right? All the new money into the space and people throwing. But I think it adds so much value to the event because normally you have this event and then everyone just disperses, especially in Vegas, right? There's a million places to go and you end up kind of hanging with your little clique, right? Either you're meeting with clients or you're, people you collaborate with. And you're kind of whoever can fit at the dinner table post event, right? So I think that the parties afterwards, I hope that the sponsors of those parties get a lot of benefit because the rest of the attendees, it's a huge opportunity and it's a great time. So I think that brings everything to the next level to be able to connect in a more chill environment, get a little alcohol into you and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, the conversations flowing were insane, and we were talking a little bit about this yesterday with Rashab. It's just everyone was sort of giving out free advice and like detailed advice. Like some of the conversations I was overhearing was, "Hey, I have this very, very specific problem that's very challenging for my team. I don't know how to solve it. We could use your service, but can you just sort of help walk me through it?"
Sure.
And that level of just advice and networking and knowledge is something that you don't really see in other industries. I feel they're always trying to sell you something. It's, hey, just, sign up to my SaaS, or, pay my agency $10,000, $15,000 a month. We'll fix it for you. But hey, let's just walk through this strategy first.
Mhm.
And that's something you don't really see elsewhere.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree. Go on ahead. You guys sneeze?
I'm fighting a sneeze. Can you
Okay.
tell? I muted myself prematurely. Premature mutation. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
would.
you're right on. I think you gotta look at the end of the day. Everyone's got entrenched skill sets that's been in this industry for a while, but there's, so much goodwill the reality is just because someone can, a brand owner can do something, doesn't mean they want to, right? You know, um, sure, we do graphic design, and that's a unique skill set, but doesn't mean someone can't manage that process and go get it cheaper somewhere. And so, just lead with value and just be in contribution, and you generally always get something coming back to you by living life that way.
Exactly. I would call that like bartender karma. Like when I was a bartender and I would go out, I would always overtip my bartenders, and then the universe would inevitably return it back to me. And that's how I paid for college. But you're right. Just like lead with the value, and the good will come back to
There
you.
you go.
But let's go on ahead and talk a little bit about Page.One. You mentioned graphic design as a service, but everybody can get it. There's other solutions for it. But what exactly does Page.One do?
Well, we're I'd say a mid-sized full service agency. So we're not the biggest, we're not the smallest, we're right sort of in the middle. Staff of I think 14. So we have our business is really kind of split down the middle. We have a managed service side of the business, and that's going to handle manage ad spend and then brand management for certain brands that we take on. And then the other side is project based. And so that's underneath the creative team is graphic design, product photography, video, and then content. And we really started on the project side. We wrapped around the managed services after about 3 years in the business. And coming off our last company, I Love to Review, we had just been given out, talking about, giving out advice. We just were giving out optimization strategies, for the 2 years of that company for free to our clients because it made our campaigns work better, right? So when we shut that company down and rolled into the agency side, we started with what we knew well. And, back then, this was 2016, the keyword tools were very, almost non-existent. It was merchant words and a couple of things coming on. We actually built our own internal keyword tool. But no one knew how to write copy. Photos were all still on their cell phones. No one did infographics on photos. There was like 6 videos on all of Amazon, right? It's come a long way in a very short period of time. So that's how we started. And, my background's all like direct response advertising. And so, we kind of took a CRO approach to design and copy and creative work. And that's really, we're probably better known for that than we are our managed services, but that's what we do. And the project side, we work with everybody, but the bulk of that business is other agencies and larger brands.
Gotcha.
And can you talk us through a little bit of your background? I know you mentioned you went to the first Prosper even. So were you always sort of in this world of e-commerce?
No. I would say that I've been in 2 primary spaces most of my life. So, some sort of business development. But I spent a lot of time in the personal development arena. So, when it started as just a personal passion, trying to figure out how to build a life that I could actually like and be proud of. And So I started reading books, and when I was a teenager, it was like all about how to make more money, right? So when I was in my early 20s, I was with a company. I sold seminars, and so I sold this line of personal transformational courses. Imagine Tony Robbins, and you made a huge cut, right? Because it's information based, and so we did that, and that kind of started my, I guess it funded my own personal development journey. So that was cool, and got to do some really interesting stuff. Like spend a week with the Maya down in Chichen Itza, and retreats in Hawaii, on the side of active volcanoes, and all kinds of cool stuff. And so I did that, and I really got into, after a few years of just really selling, I became a certified facilitator for that training. And so I was leading these programs, and I was like 26, 20 something like that. And that kind of faded to black over the years. And I actually started a charitable organization. So I took that kind of transformational leadership work, and I rewrote it into courses for teenagers. And so I started an organization called Future Point here in South Florida. And we did one-day programs inside of schools. We did weekend retreats, all for mostly high school, but middle school, high school, and college students. And I did that for a decade. Be careful what you ask for, right? When I first sat down and like business planned out my idea, I was like, and I will dedicate a decade of my life to this project. I literally shut the organization down the week of my 10-year anniversary.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Crazy.
So that was really cool. We worked with about 12,000 kids in 10 years here in South Florida. So that kind of took me through my 20s and early 30s, and got back into business after that.
And into business, were you specifically looking into Amazon or e-commerce, or I guess what relation to business?
Yeah, it's funny how it happens, right? So, I'd shut that organization, or was winding that organization down. It was maybe 2013. A couple of tough years as an adult. I'd started so early. I made money, lost money, started stuff, built it, had to go away, and just the normal ups and downs. And so I actually took a job, which nothing wrong with that, but it was my first job, like as since I was like 19 years old, right? And it's hard as an entrepreneur to not feel like you failed when you go back and take a job. Like it's just the mental mind games we play with ourselves. It's not real, right? So I took a job at a digital marketing agency doing business development, and I brought on as a client a longtime friend of mine, this guy Adam Hudson, and he had an animation company in California that he was just about to sell, and he got enamored by physical products business. And so he basically kind of just went out and researched on his own, and then sourced a product, launched in the marketplace, was doing Amazon FBM, didn't know anything about Amazon. And then a buddy of his, they all, like three of them went to ASM 1, and he learned some things, and then fix his Amazon business, and the business really took off right after that. And he came up with an idea. So we're now talking, I kind of hated where I was at. I was like, I got to get out of this job. And he came up with the idea for this review company. This was back early days. It was all TOS compliant. And we started talking about it. I was like, oh, that's really brilliant. Like that is, I didn't really know anything about business on Amazon. I saw the business case for that service. And, I'll remember this to the day, because I've battled skin cancer and stuff for most of my adult life. I'm light skinned, like Lisa, right? Stay out of the sun. Right. So we've been talking about how I might be involved. I was actually in the chair getting surgery on my, removing skin cancer from my nose. And, I'm a bit of a cut up. So like at the beginning, like first, hour, I'm like taking pictures of myself and posted on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, I'm an hour in, but the surgery took 5 hours, right? And I'm awake the entire time, right? It was just really deep. So they had to keep going back and doing more. And I'm texting, and now like I'm getting super emotional, and I'm texting Adam like, I'm not going back to my job. I want to partner into I Love to Review. Let's work out the details. And he's like, dude, just get better. We're good. We'll be fine. So I literally found office space, did my first round of interviews. I still have bandages all over my face. Yeah, it was crazy, but I, recovered a little bit and just got to work. And the I Love to Review was started in October 14. I opened the office here in Fort Lauderdale in January of 15. And then I took the company over in May of 15. Adam moved on to create an educational course, and they launched Reliable Education in Australia, which is now,
massive,
huge.
Yeah. I remember I was on. Do you know the Endgame Network with Jamie Peros?
Yep.
Yeah, they took the Reliable Education course way back in the day, and they were just they were speaking wonders of it. Now I have my own quarrels with courses in general, mostly because I feel that they're great frameworks, but they don't necessarily teach you how to overcome every situation, right? It's a great framework for how to lay everything out, but it's like, and particularly on the supply chain side, it's like, hey, send your supplier this, form, and they need to answer these. It's very transactional, and I have my own quarrels with that. But no, that's a massive, massive course now.
It is. It's, it's been around for a long time now, for 4 or 5 years, maybe more. Maybe a little bit more even. But that was how it happened. And then, when, all the shit hit the fan in October of 2016 with the reviews, we just took a pause and stepped back and say, okay, what do we know really well? What is the space missing? What do brands need help with? And so that's when we launched it. We actually rolled up 2 companies into Page.One. We launched a company called Market Hustle, bad name, and Seller Photo, and we kept them separate. And I was just, running both of them. And then I was like, this is dumb. We're sharing all the same clients. And then we rebranded after a couple of years and rolled them up into Page.One.
Decided to work smarter and not harder.
2 sets of books, too. It was just, and literally almost every client bought stuff from both companies. It was just, anyway.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. And I do want to say really quickly to anybody listening, if there's a lot of commotion when either Francois or I are speaking, we're moving over the weekends. There's a lot of packing happening around us. So if you keep hearing bang, sorry about that. But let's go on ahead and kind of, since we're, already almost halfway through.
Somehow.
I know, exactly, right? Let's kind of jump into the video side of things. So like Amazon, what all can they make videos for? What can sellers make videos for? Like, what are the requirements? What makes a great product video? Is this part of their A+? Like,
sure.
What all goes into it?
I think why even create videos? And sort of, you were talking about the emergence of it from when you started with creative. I don't think 2015 they had videos, right?
Very few. Very few. I think so. Why you create them, I think, is contextualized by where they live, right? So kind of let's combine those questions. So where can a video live on Amazon? So go from highest up funnel, top of funnel down. So you can put one on your storefront on any of the pages, right? Now, why would you want to do that? Well, the storefront, someone's landing on there generally, either you're sending them there with an ad, sponsored brand ad, or the vast majority of traffic to your storefront comes from your detail pages, right? So, which people don't even we don't even think about it as sellers because we don't do it as a shopper, right? We're so conditioned to all this stuff, right? That we look quickly. But if you check your store insight stats, generally 70+% of the traffic is coming from your detail pages. Now, why would someone go from a detail page back to a store? Well, if you sell more than one thing and they like it, they're going to likely go, there's much more brand affinity on Amazon now than there was 5 or 6 years ago. And so they're going to go check, or like, hey, I love this, but it's not exactly what I want. And then instead of going back in the search, they go to your storefront, right? If you're a higher price point, okay, this is great. Let me go learn a little bit more about the brand, right? So, or I love this. It's in my cart. I want to buy it, but let me see if there's something else from the brand that I like that I want to add to cart as well. So their storefront is where you can really design a video. On your homepage, maybe it's more of a brand video. And so someone comes there and they're going to see a video. Now they're going to you have an opportunity to bring them from kind of top of funnel looking into the middle of the bottom and really nail them on your brand, right? If you've got a cool story or you're charitable or just the backstory, and or sometimes manufacturers will show into their factories and their processes and things like that, which is just really cool and very differentiated on Amazon. So the second place would be your product detail page. Like I'll say this with a caveat. It used to be replacing image number 7, but right now there's a lot of categories that are in beta where it keeps your 7 images and then the video is number 8, right? So now that's got to be like, someone's going to see that after they've looked through your entire image stack now. So now this is much more bottom of the funnel, and you're there to take someone that's already leaning forward, like with their credit card in their hand, stored in Amazon, to wanting to click, right? And you just want to solidify the sale. So what we see works really well for there, a good promotional video that's going to give them a bit bigger picture, going to pull them in emotionally to the product. You can get emotional connection on a video, even unlike you can do on a good image. If your product is complex, sometimes an instructional video, a how-to, an assembly, if you want to take some of the mystery out of, oh God, am I going to put this thing's going to be like an IKEA project for me? Like you want to take some of that out and make it simple. Or if anywhere you want to really drill into the pain and then bring them out. So that sounds bad, but that's how you sell. Drill into the pain of the customer and then bring them out with benefits, right? Of how that product solves the pain. Or pull them into the emotional connection. Like if you're selling pet or baby, and you don't have a video, you are just missing it, right? So you got to show dogs, you got to show cats, you got to show babies cooing and cawing and, hopefully not crying.
Depending on the product.
Yeah. So those two, if you happen to have like A+ premium, then you can put a video in your A+, and that would be like if you're part of Launchpad particularly. And then probably arguably the most important would be sponsored brand videos for ads. And we'll get back into that in a second. But those are all the places. And why would you want to do a sponsor brand video? Inventory is lighter. You got more availability. Clicks are coming up now in cost, but they're generally lower. We did with an advertising partner, we did a evaluation of 10 million clicks through ad spend, or $10 million of ad spend. And we looked at it all. Sponsor brand videos had a 3 to 4 times the click-through rate of any other video ad type. So why do you want to do it? Because it's effective. It works. It grabs attention better than anything else on the pages.
And for those product categories, real quick, going back, like you said, we're in beta where some of them have the ability to have the 7 photos and then the 8th as the video. How would a seller know if they're in a category that's eligible to have that so that they can test it out and see if it works?
Yeah. So look at your detail page, right, and see if it's there.
Okay.
It only shows up, Lisa, though, if we've always been able to load more than 7 images, but only the first 7 show. I don't know why they did that, but that's the way it is. So if you had more than 7 images plus a video, then automatically, and then the category was in this beta mode, your 7 images plus video just automatically show up. So like a lot of people, because they know there's only 7 show up, they would load in 6 plus a video, and then they're going to be unchanged. So they would want to add us another image to image slot 7 and see if it shows.
Got it. Okay.
And with that analysis of the $10 million spend, I know you mentioned 3 to 4 times the click-through rate, but was there any analysis done on sort of the cost per click versus the static?
Well, look, I mean, the reality is ads are all supply and demand, right? So the amount of time that people have played with sponsored products, right, and sponsored brand ads, or take sponsored products, like that is the lowest hanging fruit. Everybody does it. We audit tons of accounts, and you'll see a lot of accounts don't have anything but sponsored products running, right? So the inventory of ad space is just much, much greater on the video side. Now, granted, there's only 1 spot per page. So, but you can go through when you start targeting keywords, and you'll just find, even with competitive products, you'll find a lot of keywords that you go to target and there's not even a video running. So, generally speaking, the cost per click is less. Once you get them to the detail page, and the detail page has to do its job anyway, right? But if you can get them there cheaper, generally speaking, your ACoS is going to end up being lower, which is what we typically see.
And so between these different ad types and places to put videos, are you seeing that your clients are creating different types of videos for these different areas? I know we mentioned for the homepage, they're creating maybe more of a brand feel.
Yeah.
But are they creating a different one for ads and a different one for product, like on the listing?
You really should, right? You should, for a whole lot of reasons, and you shouldn't just create one different one. And I'll get back to that in a second, right? So, someone is looking at the video on your detail page when they've already clicked on you out of search, right? They've already probably have read your title, looked at your price, scanned like the review star rating, maybe scan the bullets, which nobody reads much of, and then they're looking down the whole image stack, right? And they're going to get to your video. So if they're watching that, like, they're already so close to buying that you should be meeting them where they're at. And if they are clicking on your video ad, they're top of funnel, right? They're not bottom of the funnel, they're top of funnel. So your job of the job of that video is very, very different. Put it back to the detail page, that's video on your detail page. You don't need it to have this smash opening, because they're already invested in learning about your product, because they're already at the bottom of the image stack. On search, they're not invested at all. Your video has just caught their attention. They're looking for insulated coffee mug, right? They scroll down, your video starts playing with the sound off, right? And so the job of that video is honestly just to get them to click, right? I mean, you could have a second or third tier kind of, goal of that, like get them invested in your brand, start the process, get them down the funnel a little bit. But ultimately, that job is to earn the click. You got them to get them to stop scrolling. And so, we find that like the first 3 to 5 seconds needs to be a very, very specifically designed opening scene to get their attention, to stop them from scrolling, right? And hopefully turn the sound on, right? And that's what it is. And then you've got their attention, and you can tell a bit of a story. So they need to be different. And then probably the biggest mistake I see with ad videos for ads is people make one for a product. Like, that makes no sense. And then they're gauging the results based on one version, right? So this is probably the biggest change in Amazon in the last couple of years from an advertising standpoint, is now, like, it's not just about the data on the back end. Like, it's the creative that is influencing the data on the back end, right? So you may have good results, you may have bad results, but all your targeting might be spot on, right? But the creative's off, right? And so, if you're not getting the click-through rate that you want, you gotta tweak the creative, you gotta tweak the video. And so generally we came up with a process where, and anyone that's working with a videographer, I would highly suggest you go this route. Like, we just worked on kind of perfecting this pre and post production process. So we plan everything. Where is this going to live on Amazon? And we do all the creative design for all of the places that video will live. And we try to contextualize it. Like, everyone's going to have a core part that's the same, but then it's going to be contextualized for where it lives. And so we'll often, for a video ad, we'll make 3 different openings, right? So same kind of storyline post 5 seconds, but 3 different initial 5-second openings to see which one catches the most click through.
And to make it tangible to me, I like to try to use an example. And we talked a little bit very briefly about supplements at the beginning. And I think supplements and nutrients are a great example. Can you walk us through one example of like what supplements would do? And I imagine one is, let's say, like for weight loss, right? Someone might have weight management, someone might have fat loss. Is that sort of what you're talking about? And those 3 to 5 seconds hit that pain point?
So it depends on what Amazon allows you to do, right? Because they're very, very, very strict. Like, we just got videos kicked back that they're not even allowing you to personally address the consumer. So you can't speak in like you or your like anymore, which is like total anti direct response marketing, right? Like, speak directly to your audience. So that's one to watch. But you're putting them in a spot to be creative on the fly. So it could be, let's see. So for supplements, like, you could have this crazy powerful, very fast before after photo, right? Like, boom, boom, boom. And like, you maybe in 5 seconds, you show 3 to 4 different before afters. Now that's going to be incredibly impactful, right? Maybe, I mean, that's the best thing I can think of on the fly, right? But you could do a lot of different things. What happens a lot with us, we'll design these different things, and then we might say when we get to editing that, this scene 4 could actually work better on the front end, and so we designed it as part of the story, but then we'll move it, right? And this version number 2 might be the similar footage, but we just have it in a different order, right? So maybe it's breaking the supplement apart and all the stuff is falling down. Like, you want to create its movement, colors, and action in that first 3 to 5 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, that's and in that case, maybe hopefully some of the brands that are doing this are listening, but I've seen some videos where they just talk about like the product features, like, hey, this is made out of steel and this is made out of plastic. And I'm like, well, I didn't really. Yeah, exactly.
They're waiting when the feature talk's over. Yeah.
Are you seeing that a lot of brands are sort of struggling with that creative side?
Oh, for sure. It's hard. It's hard work, right? And you don't always get it right. And like a lot, especially when like you're working with an agency once, right? Like, they gotta come in and be brilliant on this new product that all about, but the agency's gotta dive in and gain product knowledge. So I think most brands sell by features. I mean, if you look on Amazon or anywhere, that's they're pointing out, and you need to do that, right? Because there's a certain segment of the population that's analytical, and they need to know the details and the facts. But always best if you can start on the pain and then support it. Show how the features help reduce that, right? And it's just a little more difficult to kind of pull like the emotional connection or what this solves, but the best place to go study this stuff is like infomercials. Like, they're cheesy, they're horrible. It seems like they have not evolved in 30 years, right? But there's a reason why they haven't changed the formula in 30 years, right?
They're so delightful. They're so addicting to watch. It's always like the older person with the But this one sticks out to me so much. They have a bowl of popcorn and they like hit the recline on their seat and it goes flying. It's like this is
Right.
this is absurd.
But that's what you need. That's a pattern interrupt, right? So,
Mhm.
this is whether you're speaking on stage or you're doing a live webinar, right? Like creating some sort of, I mean, we're all so friggin' busy, right? And so distracted.
Mhm.
When we're shopping on Amazon, people have the TV on, their kids are going, their dog's barking, right? Like they've had the stress of the whole day. Everything's in their head, right? So you need to get them out of the trance, right? And get them focused their attention onto what you're trying to actually communicate. So like it almost doesn't matter how you do it, but it has to be done. Like that pattern interrupt is so important.
Mhm. That's
And
why the ShamWow did so well. That man just got on screen, started screaming at you.
Billy
That's true.
Mays, right?
Yeah.
Billy Mays was the
Oh,
master.
Billy Mays was
He
fabulous.
was the
Gosh, his commercials
master,
were so
right?
good. Yeah.
Are you and just this is again based on the conversation that we had yesterday. The conversation that we had was centered around the concept of content creators and
Sure.
particularly those that are more so like influencers. Are you seeing any Amazon brands that are starting to bring in maybe more well-known influencers within their niche?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for brands that we manage, if they have a social presence and they've worked with influencers, we're almost always bringing it into their content, their creative, because it's unique for Amazon. So like we may bring that into the opening sequences on a video, right? And you've got even without sound, like to have like rapid pace 3, 4, 5 little TikTok video feeds coming in at the beginning, like that is so unique to Amazon. Anyone's going to stop, right? And so yeah, we want to use, it's getting harder and harder to differentiate product. It's getting hard, all these things like, seems like whenever I see a product that's just genius, like super ingenious, I just stop and just pay homage to that person, right? Because it's so hard to create something new today, right? So where you have to be now new is in your marketing and in your creative, right? You can still be plenty unique in that, and you don't have to do the same thing as everyone else does.
Well, and on the videos too, like you want them to turn on the sound, but like you said, it starts with sound off. And on social, you've seen this movement of everybody like using the captions so that you can
Yep.
listen to it sound off. Are you recommending that folks optimize their Amazon videos for ads or on storefront to be, I guess, optimized for no sound?
So storefront and your detail page, the sound will start playing right when you play them, right? So the ads are the ones that they are on autoplay, and they always start with the sound off, which makes sense from Amazon's standpoint, right? I mean, people are shopping at work and blah, 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 right? So you want to have some sort of graphic or subtitles come in quick, right? So if it can come in, you want it in that first 3 to 5 seconds. And subtitles go with voiceovers, right? Graphics go with not no spoken word, right? So you got to have one or the other or both, right? In every video.
Do you see Amazon rewarding them for any of this sort of ADA compliance with closed captions?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's kind of like, I mean, that's what the keywords are for in the back of images, and everyone just keyword stuff that stuff anyway, right? So
Yeah.
it's supposed to be like, this is an image of a man holding, a butcher knife,
Right.
but what happens is you put butcher knife, best butcher knife,
Yeah.
yeah. So
And
I don't know.
to that point on keywords, you mentioned creating different videos for, let's say, different pain points. First of all, is that right?
I would say that you want to identify, I mean, you could, right? So, I think it's your investment in creative should always be, contextualized by the revenue of the product, right? So if you've got a product doing 3,000-4,000 a month, which is a great product, like everyone shuns those products, but you get a catalog of 30 products all doing 3,000 to 4,000 a month. the best part about that is no one even knows who you are, right? Like you're not on, you're not in any, no one looking for a product is stealing your stuff.
Yeah.
And you've got to bring great, secure, long-term business, right? But if you got a product that's doing 30, 40, 50, 80, 100,000 a month, why would you not take the time to really invest in creative to see how far you can milk it, right? So I would do exactly that. I would, take my top 3 pain points. I would do a different video for each one. Because it's hard, like in a 25 or 30-second video, you only can nail so many like emotional triggers, right? But challenge the creative team to come back and say, oh, can we nail all 3 of these in one quickly in a story that makes sense, that's connected, and if you can, then you just can tweak around with the opening. If it's very different use cases, you probably want to do a video for each of them and then play with the opening.
Okay. Yeah, and to
if
tie
the
that
value
into
is there, right? If the ROI can be there.
Yeah.
But with keywords, is that where they would need to optimize their sort of keyword stuffing for those videos on the back end for each of those pain points? So let's say supplements for weight loss, or supplements for weight maintenance, or I guess, do you see any tweaking on the keyword side?
Sure. I think you certainly can get a lot of spread on Amazon. So you can have a variety of keywords and the same ad's going to work great. You don't have to necessarily change your detail page or anything like that. But to the extent that you can keep consistency from the search to what they see first, right, to then your detail page, that should lead, overall to a better conversion, right? Because the mind likes to be consistent, right? And we see, look at how many things happen in the world and we see what we see, right? And so the more it likes to make it sense of everything. So if you search for this and then this happens and then you see it again, that's good consistency. It should lead to a better conversion rate overall. Mm-hmm. But if it's real similar, then you're going to carry the whole bucket, right? You'll cover that whole spread with the same messaging.
And so what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people make within the actual content of their videos, I guess?
Just because you think it's awesome doesn't mean other people want to see it, right?
Okay.
We're about to redo this video for a brand, and the video on their detail page was 7.5 minutes long.
That's too long.
That's a very big investment.
I mean, it was just the brand creator. Brand was amazing, right? I mean, not the creator. The creator was horrible, but the brand itself doing really well. A couple of $3 million a year. Great products, very cool. And this one was just kind of like the original brand owner sitting in a field talking about the product, showing the product, demonstrate it. But 7.5 minutes, people don't even shop for that long on all of Amazon, right? I mean, over the course of one shopping experience. So, so too long, I always I call it the Seth Godin method, right? Try to say the most impactful thing with the least amount of words as possible. Seth Godin is notorious for super high impact content with very few words. He's been writing his blog for, 15 plus years. It's never over 400 words.
Wow.
And I'll read some of them. I'll read them 4 or 5 times because they're that good, right? So that's one. I think trying to oversell the features when you haven't really thought about what the problems they actually solve is another one. I think trying to go on the cheap on video is not always a mistake. Okay, not always a mistake. I've seen some video ads that are nothing more than slideshows of still images. I mean, you can make them on Canva for free, right? I mean, even the same images that are on your image stack on your detail page, and I've seen them convert extremely well. That's I think more of an exception than the rule, but nothing exposes cheap, faster than video, right?
Yeah.
But also overproducing a video can be to your detriment on Amazon too, right? So, you got to find the middle ground and test. But I would much rather test with a video I did myself on Canva than a $10,000 full-blown video production.
That's true.
What's a good budget for, let's say, a 30-minute long video?
Yeah, so this is actually why we didn't launch video as a service outside of our in-house clients for a couple of years. I couldn't figure out how to price it well. Because unless you've got a big budget or a big brand, to drop $5,000 on a video, most people aren't doing it, right? And they shouldn't do it, right? So I'll say first, even if you're waiting to get videos done and you don't have videos and your brand registered and you're allowed to run them, go now, download, go on Canva for free and put a video together on your own with your still images and just launch that as a test for sponsored brand videos. It costs you nothing. Or if you need premium content on Canva, it costs you $30 or whatever.
Yeah.
You're done. The whole thing's done in 10 minutes, right? It's similar to how Perpetua's Video Maker works, right? So just go launch that and just start getting some data on your video ads, right? So I would say that most video companies are going to charge anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 for a good professionally done video. That could be in studio, maybe it's on location, may or may not have talent, live models. So what we did that is unique, so we packaged that whole thing together, like I was talking to Lisa earlier, where we're like, okay, where can we use this video? And then we try to create all the versions of it in advance. So our package might be $3,000, but we're probably going to cut you 4 videos out of it. So our per video cost almost always comes under $1,000. Sometimes if it's models and we got to pay for location, it'll be more, but you just don't need much more than that. And I'm not trying to gouge people. We have a gross margin that's set. And, as long as we can stick to it, we'll pass the savings on. We just figured out how to do it creatively in a way that works.
So less than a wedding videographer.
Oh my God! What are
they're like 6 to 10 grand.
There's so much.
Yeah. I mean,
There's so much.
Look, I mean, it's you could shoot for. You're getting a collection of short focused scenes, right? And then the magic of the video comes together on post-production, right? It's the editing that really makes it pop. Now, if you don't have the stuff that's already shot, no editor can do it. Yeah. But assuming you get good content, right? So that's how we do it. I think, like I said, if you're going to take it out to a production house, $2,500 on the minimum, $10,000 on the high. But you generally don't need that full-blown production value.
Mm-hmm. And I brought this up to my team yesterday, and they kind of laughed at me. But do you see?
Happens to me a lot, Francis.
I'm wondering what you're talking about.
Do you see any of this content going towards like a TikTok style or a very more low budget style content?
It could, yeah. And don't be like, I wouldn't say that TikTok's always low budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
The influencer, is taking more and more cash. Mm-hmm. And look, that all takes time. You got to go find them, unless you've got a huge network already of influencers. You're going to spend it either time or money, right?
Well, budget in the sense that you're not going to a production studio. They might showcase it at their own apartment.
They could, sure. I think it appeals to a certain audience for sure. Mm-hmm. So I think it's somewhat product dependent, situational, and it very well could, but for the average brand, the time to find those influencers is a lot. And then to sort through the ones that are going to actually produce decent content and something you like and all that kind of stuff. Right.
Mm-hmm. And not to squabble on live, but we did not laugh at you. We just said that
laughed.
In the context of the discussion and where you were thinking it to be implemented, we didn't think that it was the best solution.
Okay. I heard a bunch of laughs in my head.
Yeah.
So
what you heard and what happened were two different things.
That's because you're trying to take away Jimmy's food, man.
There you go.
Don't stand between a man and his food.
Yeah, Jimmy needs his food.
He does.
Okay, so a video with your company is under, let's say, about 1,000, and is this all done sort of in your own studio, or are you going out to their brands, or do
Both.
they just ship you both? Okay.
Both, yeah. So we don't go to the brands generally. So, I mean, we're in South Florida, so the weather's usually great. We have, it's a destination, area, so we have tons of availability of stuff.
No snow shovels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If you're selling like, snowshoes, we're not the production company for you, right? But we can do a good job with stock footage and B-roll,
Right.
like, so we have in our studio, we have a kitchen studio, we have a bedroom studio, we have a living room set, right? So that works for a lot of stuff, right? And then we are probably on location. We did a pickleball shoot last week on local courts. We were talking about that earlier. We rent Airbnbs all the time. I have a huge, entrepreneur network locally to me. And so, we're using friends of mine's homes and colleagues and, so we're doing all of it, right? So sometimes you need to be on location, sometimes you don't.
Gotcha. And in the last couple of minutes that we have, we want to give you an opportunity to let people know where to find more information. But I think you're also speaking at a conference soon.
Yeah, I'm speaking at
that?
eCom events in LA, Beverly Hills.
Do you have a code or anything?
Oh, I should have had that. I will post the code on your LinkedIn post before the end of the day.
Awesome. Yeah. But what's kind of the topic of discussion there? It's at LA, it's at Beverly Hills. What's going on with that show?
Yeah, I think I'm doing a talk on like CRO for Amazon. So just all conversion rate optimization. It's only 30 minutes. And as you can see, I can go on a tangent with the best of them. So it's going to be like, little like Uzi, right? Little Uzi Vert in 30 minutes.
Uzi Vert.
Yeah. And CRO. So we're probably going to talk about like how to psychologically structure the emotional journey of a buyer down the funnel on Amazon.
Awesome. And you're going to be joined by some other friends of the show who are also speakers. We've got Amy Weiss, Dawn Hennig, Liz Downing, Mina Elias, and Tim Jordan, Yoni Mazur. Like this sounds like I didn't see Cam on there.
He's talking alongside Liz.
Is he? Okay. So Liz and Cam, they're often found together.
Liz has her hand up Cam's back, like controlling the audio.
Oh no.
Was that bad?
It's a great panel of people. So yeah, we'll go ahead and post the link to that as well. And then if folks wanted to find more information about Page.One, where can they visit you guys at?
Our site is Page.One. So no.com. I just had to verify if you search for any combination of how you search for us, you generally will find us in the first couple search results. So I do all my business networking on LinkedIn. So Facebook is for me is kind of friends and people I've met in real life, and then LinkedIn is where I do all my professional networking. So LinkedIn is just /Keith B. O'Brien.
Awesome. I manage my stuff the same way too.
Yeah.
We're not actually friends. I'm not adding you to my Facebook.
One question that Lisa, you didn't ask though. What size client do you usually take on?
Yeah. What does your best fit look like?
So look on the project side. So a video is a project, right? We'll take anybody. I mean, they could be a brand new startup. Our pricing is the same. We do bulk pricing at the agency level and larger brands, but coming in, we could be helping the first person launch their brand new seller launch their very first product. I would say most of our creative work, our best client is another agency. They don't typically have creative in-house, and we can do a lot of work together. On the managed service side, ad spend, we generally start at, probably 4,000 a month in spend or so, maybe 3 on the lowest side. Or around 5 is probably, and then our probably average clients around 10 to 15 or so, something like that. On the brand, it's more about the person than the size of the business, right? So we're working with some funded startups that we love the scope of the project. We love the founder. It's a long-term, minimum 1-year relationship. So, we just have to, like, if I don't want to have you over for dinner, we're probably not taking you out as a brand. Right?
I was gonna say they better slide into your LinkedIn DMs, and you got to schmooze Keith if you want to get.
No,
that.
it's not like that. But like, you know how it is. Like, right mentality around the business. Like, we're not magicians. We just have all done this for a while, right? So we know a few things, but we can't make bad products. Breathe. We can't breathe life into bad products. Yeah. I will say this though: we had a client last year that their average star rating was 3.1, and we still doubled their business in a year.
Wow, that's impressive.
That's very impressive.
Catalog wide, right? Now they sell off Amazon, so they have a bunch of brand search too. But that was cool. Like if they would have had products in the 4.5 star rating, we would have 10x their business in a year.
3.1. That's pretty fast.
Yeah, that's rough. Like when I'm looking, especially
like 2.9.
When I'm like looking for like gifts, I hit that 4 stars and up button every time, and I don't look at anything else. That's crazy.
If the bestseller's like a 2.9, this has to be a product where it's like, which one's not the worst, right?
But
I absolutely need, the lesser of the evils. Oh, geez.
Some of them are like these products where there's only so many options, and all the options work for some people, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. You'll have to tell us once
we're there. I mean, you mentioned supplements, Francois. Like supplements can often be, lower star ratings because it's everyone's different.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That is true. So. Awesome. Well, Keith, thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome, and we'll have to catch a replay or something of the ecom events. I don't think I can convince Francois to ship us out to LA in 11 days. But
oh my God, it's been 11 days. I haven't booked anything yet.
Oh no. Yeah. I think that's what the countdown says.
Yeah.
At least it's in LA.
11 days.
I know.
Well, that's still, gosh, the time zone messes you up hardcore.
You stay in the sun.
It's going to be in and out.
Well, perfect. Right. Thank you, Keith, so much for joining us.
You guys are great. Thanks so much for having me. Kudos to you. Mad props on the production value on a lead in. That was awesome. Thank you. And thanks for doing what you guys do.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. If you guys liked what you heard, be sure to give us a thumbs up, comment with your thoughts, subscribe to the show, share it with your friends, and turn on those notifications. And that way you never miss a conversation with leaders in supply chain and e-commerce like Keith O'Brien with Page.One. So thank you, everyone, again. Have a great weekend. And we will be back on Monday with our follow-up series to our Prosper speaking opportunity panel. Geez, I forgot the word panel.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.